Hello, beautiful souls. I am Kara Avery, and I am welcoming you to Rooted and Rising podcast, where we're going to have conversations on love, growth, and purpose. And I'm so excited that you are here to join me on this journey. We are going to be traveling through transformation and elevation. What does that journey look like? What can you learn? What can you experience while you're having this deep dive into discovery on what's within your roots? Hello, everyone, and welcome to Rooted and Rising. Today, I am so excited to have my beautiful sister here with me, Kadidra Stuart Cooper. She is going to share some of the beautiful wisdom that she has imparted on me that I'm so fortunate to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
I'm excited about this conversation, but I want you to introduce yourself first.
I am Kadidra Stuart Cooper. My ancestral name is Nekhbet Tu Ma'at. I am first a student of self, a student of mastery, and the child of my ancestors, and that is my first duty here. I guess you could say in this incarnation. I am also a very young community builder. I am what I call revival facilitator. A lot of people call them retreats. I like to revive instead of retreat when we come together. I am a sister. I am a Umi godmother to a multitude of children, and I'm a gardener and a wife. So also a Reiki practitioner.
Yes, listen, and at some point during this conversation, I hope to share a little bit because she actually performed an amazing Reiki session for me, and it was transformative for a level of my healing. So I don't want to, that's a big part. That's a big part of all of the beautiful roles that you hold in this space. So thank you for introducing yourself. I think that I want to just jump in right into our conversation because we were kind of like having a little bit of it before we started. Because what we're talking about is beginning to reclaim that inner whisper, right? And really understanding a little bit about how we begin to trust or even just hear that inner voice. And so I know for me on this journey of healing and growth and development, it's been a challenge.
Yeah.
Right? It's been a challenge. And so I would love to know from you, where does someone start?
So that's a great question. And it takes us back a little bit further than I think most people would be fully willing to dive without instruction. In order to find the trust, to listen to your inner whisper, you have to go back and make sure that you understand who you are first. Without the understanding of yourself, without the knowingness of your past programming, without the definitions to why you do what you do, you will always have a hard time trusting that inner whisper. If you don't know or understand your trauma, if you've never processed that, what you perceive to be a whisper from spirit could actually be you responding from a experience in your past that has something to do with your trauma. Right. So the idea is to fully understand yourself first before you can trust what's coming from inside. Because a lot of times what's coming from inside could be a part of our past programming. As I said, our past trauma. It could be unknown feelings that are arising that have nothing to do with the situation. It could be familiarity from past situations that you've gone through. And here we are thinking that our intuition is telling us something when really we're responding to a situation or circumstance from our past.
That's so good. Because I think that for me, my internal dialogue was so just murky at times, you know what I mean? And so I think that, in the previous episodes, I've talked about losing my voice, right? And a part of that voice is my intuition, is that inner whisper, right? When I'm speaking of the voice. And as it got smaller, it was reflective of some of the decisions that I had made, some of that internal talk where I began to distrust myself, right? And because of the traumas and the experiences that I had seen, that I had experienced, shame was a significant one, right?
Yeah.
To the diminishment of that trust and that voice, and being able to really, I don't know, just find my way through it, right? I think that for me, my spiritual, because I used to be like, how do you hear God?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that
Yeah.
for a lot of people, like, we're, our first line is like, we go to church, especially if you grew up in the church, and people are like, well, God is speaking to you. And I'd be like, I ain't heard him. I don't know. Like, what does he sound like? You know what I mean? Or what is it? What am I supposed to be hearing?
Listening for?
Yeah, what am I listening for? Right? And it took me a while. It took me a really long time. I'm gonna be honest. And I was like, I'm praying and I'm devout and I'm doing all the things and I'm meditating. Once I got into meditation and I'm studying and I'm learning, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to be hearing? I want to jump into when we think about the places that we have planted our roots and how we have had our upbringing, and as I was saying, kind of like being able to hear God's voice, right? Yeah. And understanding, what role that may have played in me tapping into my own intuition, and understanding what role or what has been the impact really of the systems that we have been brought up in, our programming as it relates to our intuition.
So going back to church, right? In church, it's very defined on how you are supposed to behave, how you're supposed to speak, how you're supposed to dress. Everything is pretty much outlined in some capacity through the Bible. And so it's this very structured form in which many people aren't comfortable stepping away from, right? And my situation is a whole lot different because I didn't grow up in the church. I was given an option. And church was optional for me. There were people in my family who went to church, but the school that I went to was all about ancestor reverence. So it was a vast difference from a lot of the rest of the world, particularly in the early 80s when I first started going to school. So there was a component of my childhood that was heavily influenced by the presence of ancestry.
Okay.
So if you take that, for me, that weighed a lot more than the indoctrination of Christianity.
Oh, that's powerful.
So I always tell my elders, I said, there were certain things that were instilled into our community, the children within our community when we were younger, when it came to paying respects to the ancestors. However, what we're seeing now is as the children that were taught at the same time that I was, we're growing up and developing our own senses. So it's like they planted these particular seeds, right? And they saw those seeds bloom years after year after year. But now what we're having happening is stranger fruit is starting to appear. A fruit that these elders have never seen before. So while they gave me the direction of honor your ancestors, we had ancestral ceremonies, we're deep into our spiritual practices, into our rituals, but how we connected with ancestors has vastly different from when I was a child to now. So unfortunately, I'm in a situation where I am teaching myself what that connectivity between our communication looks like. It's a lot different from when I was raised. Whereas if you go to Christianity, they're teaching you that if you question certain things, that it's immoral or it's blasphemous to question God. Whereas in tapping into your intuition, there are going to be a lot of questions, as you said before. What am I listening to for? What does the sound of God's voice sound like?
Right.
Or have there been directions given to me and I've missed them because I can't hear God, you know? So Christianity, the way we're raised, different indoctrinations are heavily going to influence whether a child is comfortable enough to even tap into their own knowingness, where a child is comfortable enough to have enough agency over themselves where they can decide, hey, I heard something, I want to follow it. I grew up with an imaginary friend that was honored. His name was Jimmy Wan. I have no idea where Wan came from, but his name was Jimmy, right?
Right.
And my family respected Jimmy Wan. They honored Jimmy Wan. They knew when it was time to go, Jimmy Wan, it's time for me to go. But they embraced that part of myself,
Right.
which allowed me to tap into the creativity that was inside me, which allowed me to listen to a voice that no one else could hear but me.
Ooh.
Which gave me a lot more willpower to listen to what was going on inside of me. Because if I could listen to Jimmy Wan and we can have full conversations, what else should I be able to tap into?
Ooh.
So a lot of people want to take that imaginary friend away from their child, not realizing you could actually be cultivating an inner voice inside that child that child can trust. I trusted Jimmy Wan. With my whole heart.
Yeah.
And it wasn't frowned upon. Jimmy Wan was my favorite, but it was a whole community of them.
Yeah.
Right? And I would sit in the middle of the dining room floor, the kitchen floor, and I would do Sister Circle at 5 years old with Jimmy Wan and the rest of my imaginary friends.
Oh, wow.
And my family would just watch. But I realized later that just having the opportunity to embrace what was imaginary, right? Gave me more comfort with embracing what I know is no longer imaginary.
And I think that what's been challenging is that through the years, right, when we go back to a certain time period, that was very much our heritage, right? And I think that that's one of the things for me that's been, I would say, kind of like interesting about learning about my family and my family's past and lineages and DNA is because like I've always been searching for some of that.
Yeah.
Right. I've been like, well, I know that there's more to this. Like, where did we begin? Where did we start? And then even some of my grandmother's wisdom where she would know things or she would hear things, or some of her aids and some of her ointments that were all steeped in this information, in this knowledge, right? That was 9 times out of 10 more spiritual knowledge than anything, right? And so that they were bringing that forward, and that they were using some of their intuitive guidance along the way.
Absolutely.
But not necessarily passing it down in a way that it was tangible, right? In the ways where it was, like my grandmother was, they would say, trust your gut, things like that. Or, like, I don't know. To me, grandmothers always had a knowing. You know what I mean? Especially like my grandmother.
Yeah.
And she had like this knowing, or, they could hear inflections in your tone, and they were observant enough to when you, walked in from school, they'd be like, "How you, Miss Dorothy," one of my favorite people in the world. And I will share more about her, but I would walk in the house and she would say, "How you doing, Amy?" And I'd be like, "I'm fine." Or I would walk in and I wouldn't speak. And they would be like, "No, baby.
You don't do that.
You don't do that," right? Because she said, you never know who or what's going on in the room. So you need to always walk in and speak so that you can understand what's happening in your environment, right? It's an echo, right? I'm saying, "Hey, how y'all doing?" And I can feel how people respond to me when I say, "Hi, how y'all doing?" Just those energy transfers. So there was always a reason for those things, but then they didn't necessarily, they didn't necessarily tell you.
There's coding within our DNA that was never stripped from us.
Yes.
And that's where those sayings come from. You feel it in your gut. That baby been here before. Oh, it's nothing new under the sun. Those are all codes that are in our DNA. And regardless of any indoctrination that was instilled on our people, those codes remained. They couldn't strip them of that. Yeah. They felt that, Yeah. And so there was a knowingness that was ingrained in their spirit, ingrained in their soul, that was not necessarily ingrained in their thought process. You said something. You said there was a search of going back and trying to go back and figure out where it started. And one of the things that Black children, brown children, usually aren't fortunate enough, particularly Black children, aren't fortunate enough to understand the history of our people before slavery, which robs us
Yeah.
of that understanding of how to coalesce with spirit.
Yeah. And I've talked to, like, you know, I've talked to my friends in India that are, you know, practicing Buddhism and how they're taught. And I'm like, you've been learning that since you were a kid? And they're like, yeah. Like, this is welcome in my community. Or, you know, some of my friends that are Native American, or I talked to a friend she's an indigenous Hawaiian, right? And so the things that she was like, oh, our kumus and, you know, our practitioners and our teachers. And I'm like, you grew up like, that's what you grew up with? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's fascinating. You know, just to have that experience and be tapped in that way, to then have that freedom to explore.
Absolutely.
And listen and understand what you're hearing. Now, we've talked about listening for the voice. We've talked about a little bit about understanding just some of the roots of where your intuition may have started, and then kind of some of the parts of where we lost it and where you can lose it. And so with that, I want to know, is there a time where you lost your intuition? Because I know I lost mine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so what did it look like during a time period where you may have ignored your intuition?
So the way that I have to put this is going back to church. Again, church is not a part of my personal foundation, right? So when you're growing up in a church, you know exactly how you're supposed to behave, how you're supposed to act. You know the books, you know all the things, right?
Maybe.
Right.
But
But
yeah, we have,
you know, you have a generalization
Yeah.
of how things are supposed to be. Well, growing up in a Pan-African community, I grew up in what a lot of people are seeking now. And so growing up with ritual, growing up, my second language was Kiswahili, growing up doing West African dance, growing up doing all those things. For me, I needed to know what the rest of the world was doing. I needed to know what the other Black kids was doing, right?
Yeah.
Because I came to realize after 13 that the rest of the children that looked like me were not raised like me. And I didn't realize that until stepping away from my community. So, in that soul search for myself, I had a whole lot of fun, and while my intuition was active, at some point, I was out there living my entire best life, ignoring all of the things that I should have been paying attention to, and that was for about 10 years. Yeah, and it was probably longer. I'm gonna say it was probably from 21 to 35.
Listen, the way that my lack of intuition and listening has played a role in my dating life. Can we talk about that? Because we be like, there's a little nudge inside of us that says, nope, it's not him. Don't date that man. And we be like, but he looks so good.
Yeah.
And he smells so delicious.
And he's so rotten on the inside.
And he's so bad sometimes. And we like that guy, and we ignore all the signs. And then spirit gives them to us. And then we're just like, and then when we're in the bathroom crying, trying to figure it out, we like, I should have listened. My stomach told me, something told me he wasn't the one. You know what I mean? But
is that not tied to our self-worth?
Oh, it is.
Right? Is that not tied to our past programming, our past trauma? When we allow ourselves into those spaces or into those relationships, are we not making us distrust ourselves even more?
Period.
Because why should I trust you? You keep on choosing these men. So how can I trust that inner voice if I can't even trust myself to pick a partner?
Oh, that's so good.
How can I trust my inner voice if I can't trust myself to not have one more drink when I want?
That's true.
Right? So here I have this notion in my head, and I got to battle back and forth because in my decision-making processes with men, with lifestyles, with diet, I couldn't follow that. So why should I follow what I'm hearing inside? Because what I'm hearing inside told me it was okay to have one more drink.
Right.
So where do I begin to trust it?
Mine will tell me to have French fries. with cheese sauce, knowing that's gonna mess my stomach up.
Right.
Yeah. And I think there's this
the cheese sauce.
And I want to touch on it because I think that it's important, because what I found myself doing is dishonoring myself a lot. And in my healing, I had to go back and understand why I had been dishonoring myself. And even in that core essence also, I mean, as I was excavating, as I've been digging things out, because I always had challenges in relationships around trust. And then I had to really face that I didn't trust myself. And I was like, and I had become codependent on a partner, because, even more so in a way, because I was not trusting myself. So now I'm giving all of this away. I'm giving all of this of me away. You felt more comfortable
trusting the partner than you did trusting yourself.
Yeah. And I think there's a much larger conversation, or a big part of that is also the accountability, right? The responsibility and accountability that we have to give to ourselves when we are giving those parts of us away. Yeah. Right? And I'm responsible for my eating. I'm responsible for saying, no more of this. I'm responsible for saying, let me grab a salad. You know, my spirit is telling me that I need live food, that I need something energizing for me to function and do the things that I'm doing today. And now I can hear that because I've removed all the extra. You know, I've removed all the excess, right? And now it's coming in so much clearer for me. But it's a journey. You know what I mean?
It is. You know, I realize that what I'm about to say isn't for everyone. And it is a defining moment for a lot of people if they decide they want to work with me or not. You're responsible for it all. In some capacity or another, you're responsible for it all. And I can't acknowledge our responsibility without the agreement to go on a particular assignment when we incarnated into this life.
Yes.
Right? So whatever we're experiencing, experiencing because consciously, subconsciously, superconsciously, unconsciously, we called it.
We did.
We called for it, you know? And so in knowing this is the particular assignment that I am going on in this incarnation, we have to respect whatever it is that we call forth for our individual growth. We don't have experiences that we shouldn't learn from.
Ooh.
We should learn from every single experience. Anytime something happens, I always ask myself, one of the first things is it's on repeat for me. What is this teaching you? Yes. And if I can't figure out what it's teaching me, I ask myself, why did you call this in your life? Even if somebody has appeared to have done something to me, I need to know, why did I call forth that experience? Because there's something energetically in me that energetically aligns with them, right? So that I can have that experience for my own individual growth. And when you begin to look at life like that, you are no longer a victim. You can begin to trust yourself because you are taking any accountability that needs to be taken for your entire life, for yourself. You begin to be a lot more mindful with how you're going to go into any situation. For me, I don't care for driving a whole lot for long distances. So before I got on the road today, I imagined that the road was clear, and it was.
Right.
But that is being aware of the creation process. That is allowing me to jump in. If my intuition isn't there and saying anything, where can I fit in? Where can I put my input? And where can I initiate the dialogue with spirit?
Right.
So that I can receive what it is. You know, sometimes it's okay for us to ask spirit instead of just waiting for spirit to tell us. But then you have to also know that spirit never stops speaking. You have to realize you're not listening.
Oh.
So always. Where are we not listening? Spirit always talking.
Always.
Spirit is always talking, always telling us something. And I think people have gotten comfortable with the idea of clairaudience. Clairaudience is when you're able to hear spirit. So when they were teaching children in church, you need to be able to hear the voice of God. They weren't telling you the multitude ways that you can hear the voice of God. Could that be a smell? Could that be something you hear? Could that be something you feel? Is it a bird coming to interrupt us while we're in the middle of trying to do what we got to do?
Right.
You know, so spirit is always talking. Is it a song?
Right? Sometimes it's a song.
Absolutely.
And how we feel when we hear those songs. And what those songs invoke. So
yeah. So are we actually opening ourselves up to receive the message from spirit, to hear the inner dialogue? Do we have, as you said, murky waters, muddy waters? Is it too much going on internally that internal voice is drowned out by all the noise and all the trauma and all the programming, all the feelings that need to be released? Is it all drowned out because of those things, and you're no longer able to hear that internal dialogue?
I think that you just hit like 1,000 points for me specifically, because as I'm thinking about parts of my own journey, for sure I've had to say, what is this teaching me? Mine is, why is this in my movie? Right? Because I'm like, why is this in my movie right now? I had to learn how to say, like, why is this showing up for me? And then once I began to see the individuals in my spaces as teachers, I'm like, okay, what is this experience learn? What am I supposed to learn?
Say that again. You
Teachers.
You cannot like just zoom over that.
Yes.
My grandfather used to say that. He said that's not your mother, that's not your father, those not your friends, they are your teachers.
Yes.
And when you are able to get the lesson from everyone that you encounter, life will be so much more beautiful.
Oh, it is. And you don't have to hold so much, right? When you can address, when you can understand that this person is a teacher, I don't have to hold it so tightly and personally that you're functioning from a place, or you're interacting with me in a certain way because, right? Maybe you are interacting in a certain way with me because it is mirroring something for me, right? Maybe I'm reacting that way to someone else and it's being mirrored back to me. So much of, even for my little girl, she is my biggest teacher right now. She is one of my, and I don't think people understand how our children, Amari is like a professor. Like, and I don't know if everybody's children are like this before they turn 7, because I know that things transition, but the things that I learned from her, just because I have decided that she is my teacher, right? So I'm very conscious and aware of what she's saying to me. Mommy, you gotta be kind. Mommy, I watch how she interacts with her friends. I watch how she expresses herself. And then I say, hey, are you having big feelings? Nobody talked to me about no big feelings. And I've been having big feelings for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been showing out and I've been going off on people, and I would be like, and that's me having big feelings. So in this path that I'm on, in my everyday, I get to nurture her in a way that nurtures me.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And she's teaching me, and I get to accept that, and I get to understand she's also like fearless. And I'm like, girl, give me some of that. I'm going, listen.
You did that though. You helped her to be fearless.
Yes. I don't know, because Amaria came in.
Well, she does have some big Leo energy.
Yeah, she came in big Leo energy, right?
Yeah.
And she loves all things that sparkle, and she loves all of the things, and just so fearless, right? Fearless to certain things, right? I think that her ability to, we go on a trip and she's dancing and she's out and she's expressing herself, and I get to see that and learn from that.
Yeah.
At this stage. And I'm like, oh, I'm so grateful, right? There's so much gratefulness in that. And I also get to tap in and be that safe space for her, as you were. Like, Amaria has an imaginary friend, right? Tina, we was talking to Tina yesterday. And she's like, Mommy, Tina is pulling your shirt. And I was like, Tina better get that. Yeah. She cannot have this outfit. So I will play, and she laughs and she falls on the floor. And she's like, Tina, and I play along with it with her, because it's important. And I hope that she is going to have those moments where she is hearing, right? And we're practicing it, right? She has a newer version and a different mother, similar to your upbringing. So she is going to have a different set of experiences in her upbringing that I hope that I'm equipping her with. But I want to take a step back into some practices to begin to tap into that inner knowing. Because I think that, depending on where we are in our stages of growth, in our stages of learning, healing, how do we begin to hear it? How do we begin a practice of just tapping into that voice and that intuition?
So what I would say is, first, I can't skip this step as much as I would want to. First, you have to understand yourself. You can understand yourself in a multitude of ways. There's all kind of sciences of self that I personally use to understand myself. Astrology. I use human design. I use numerology. I use medicine biology. So I use a whole lot of things to understand myself. I also use the chakra system. That's probably my personal favorite because of the way it develops. You mentioned expression quite a few times when talking about your baby girl. And 7 through 14 is the stage of building the energy of expression. And so I love that. And the reason that she's so comfortable with who she is because before 7, she'd already been deeply rooted. So her expression is very comfortable because of the foundation that was laid first. So knowing who you are, looking at how you were raised, looking at the beautiful relationships and looking at the ones that may have hurt you, decoding and deciphering, understanding those relationships that hurt you and the mannerisms that they created after that hurt was instilled.
Ooh,
because we become someone else once that hurt happens.
Right.
You know, if your little girl is walking around singing and she feels she sounds the best and you say, okay, just not right now. That's really working my nerves. Even though she can sing tomorrow, that right now, not right now, makes an impression that something may not be good about her voice, which we don't know how that can impact her 20 years later.
Right.
So you have to know yourself. You have to know when you were hurt. I always say, if someone is hurt, if you feel hurt by a statement or if you feel hurt by someone doing something in particular to you, ask yourself, when is the first time that you felt that feeling? So if you can begin to identify the first time you felt that feeling, you can possibly get back to the place in which that feeling was programmed into you. I'll use the voice again. As a little girl, my uncle loved me. I know he loved me. He was never hurtful, except when he said little girls are supposed to be seen, not heard. So then going into corporate America as a 30-something-year-old adult working in an industry with mainly men, I almost silenced myself until I had to understand, why don't I want to speak up right now? Why do I feel intimidated? What about this space is intimidating to me? And then I heard my uncle say, because girls are supposed to be seen, not heard. And I love the way I dress. I was a restaurant manager. I wore heels. If you saw me in a restaurant, you wouldn't have known I was working. I was very confident, very comfortable in my role, except when I got into those meetings with those men and I had something to say, I would bring my voice down. And so I had to get to the point where I was like, why are you nervous about speaking up? You have something to say and it's important.
Yeah.
And then I realized, again, when is the first time you heard it? No, it wasn't my ex-boyfriend telling me he ain't want to hear it. So when did I hear it first? And then I had to keep asking. No, that wasn't the first time. The first time was when my uncle told me girls are supposed to be seen, not heard. And I've carried that throughout my life. Even in other situations with men that I wanted to get out of, that I did not get out of because that voice had been stripped from me. So we have to go back with every emotion, with every feeling, and figure out the why. And if we can figure out the why, then we can slowly begin to reprogram ourselves. But we have to think of our bodies. We have to think of the mind is, we've heard it 1,000 times in our youth. Your brain is a computer. So guess what? Your brain has stored every experience that you have ever had, whether you know it's there or not. It's in there.
Right.
And in life, we respond to those experiences that are familiar. So we respond as if we're in the very first instant that something has happened to us. So that's why they say you're only as old as your trauma. Because if you've never overcome that trauma, your 50-year-old self will resort back to a 15-year-old child throwing a tantrum if you don't get your way because that was the first time it happened to you. After you've decoded yourself, after you've gone back and analyzed yourself and reanalyzed and asked why 100 times when you didn't want to, because you haven't gotten to the foundational point in which something was created, then you can begin to trust yourself.
That's so true. That's so good. I hope y'all love. Did y'all get that? Did y'all get that? Did y'all get that?
Then you can trust yourself, because before then you don't know what you're responding to.
That's true.
You don't know what you're responding to.
That's true. Or and where it's coming from, right?
Where is it coming from?
That's true.
You know, where did you first hear that, you know, a certain action was bad? Mm-hmm. Where did you first hear a certain word was bad? And what defines it as being bad?
Right.
Is it bad or is it bitter?
Ugh. We don't want to talk about that.
Because you don't put bad things in your life, but some bitter things you have to take, and you have to learn to digest it.
Right. And where did it come from, right?
Where did it come from? It came from a lot of it. We got a whole lot of programs, just like our phones or our iPads. We have a whole lot of programs running when they really need to be deleted off the app. You're the app.
Right.
Delete it.
Let it go.
Just let it go. But you have to be able to identify, because I bet you it's a bunch of stuff on your phone you ain't looked at it in the last year.
Listen, and you know how when you open up it's like when you open up the screen and everything pops up and you just trying to slide past stuff because you're like, that's not even the app I'm trying to get to. So you just sliding past all this stuff. I love how on some of our phones now, it'll pop up that these are all of the apps that you haven't used.
I wish that would happen in our minds.
I know, but it gives us a point of reference, right?
It does.
What are some of the things that what are all these things that are sitting in your psyche that are running in the background, right? It'll say that these apps are running in the background, and you can shut them down. It'll say these apps are running in the background, shut them down. Let them go. Shut them down. But you need to identify them.
You have to identify.
You got to locate them, right? Yeah. And I'm a huge advocate of journaling. Mm-hmm. Journaling, writing has been my sanctuary for a really, really long time. Mm-hmm. It's how I've been able to find myself. It's how I've been able to tap into the self, right? I went back and I looked at some of the journal entries and the repetitiveness and the ideas. And so I'm always an advocate of just start with writing. Yeah. When you're feeling certain things, when you're seeing certain experiences, start writing where you're at or what that experience is bringing up for you, so that you can begin to do that discovery in itself.
I always talk about measure. So you're right. Write out that experience. And the next step after writing out that experience, writing out your feelings, writing out how it's affecting you. Again, repetition. I'm really big on repetition. After you have all that out there and you've written it out, ask yourself, when is the first time I felt this way? Because that's going to take you back. And it's going to also help you to understand why this particular situation is triggering you. You know, if it's one of those, what they say, if it don't apply, let it fly. So if it applies, it's going to bother you, and you need to figure out why it's bothering you.
Right.
Because we respond to only that which applies to us. We don't respond to the things that don't.
Ooh, we don't respond to
so
the
if
things
somebody
that don't apply to us.
We do not give that any space. You look at something that don't apply, you be like, yeah, they're not talking to me. But if you react,
yes,
and these feelings come up, it absolutely applies to you, even if you want to acknowledge it does or not. Right?
Yes. I know so many people are like, they get really triggered in some of the conversations, especially on some of the podcasts we see now, how people get so triggered. They be like, no, I'm not like that. And you be like, well, why are you acting? Why is his shoulders up? You know what I mean? Why is his chest out? Why he seems so angry if he's not like that? But sometimes it's speaking to an unconscious part of that person
that they have not discovered, or that's an old program. You didn't tap into that program on them. And you have pressed one of those buttons that they did not want pressed.
Right.
You know, and whatever angers you, whatever has the ability to heighten your emotion controls you.
That's so true.
If someone says a certain thing and you get tight, it's controlling you.
It is. Yeah.
You know, where does self-control come in? And anything that takes you away from your self-control is something that you need to dissect, because it controls you.
Oh, right. And I think that in this journey for me, I don't think that we acknowledge the captivity of that. right? The captivity. I told my therapist, I said, I've been shackled to some stuff. And I was like, and now I feel free. For me, learning to control and understand my emotions has freed me, right? Because certain things were holding me that didn't need to hold me, right? And I was running off of things and programs and ideas, but the emotion of it had me like tight. And I'm like, why do I feel so offended when this person does this thing? And that don't even have nothing to do with me. You know what I mean? Like some of the things that people would say or some of the ideals, but then full circle moment, me not trusting myself, me making decisions where I'm saying, oh, well, I'm going to take this on, or I'm going to do this thing against my intuition saying, no, don't do that. Me giving my power away. And I'm saying, oh, well, I'm going to let someone else have it. So now I'm emotional and I'm just out in the water. Right. And I'm like, man, I gotta get anchored. I got to bring myself back.
You know, I can't remember. I'm really big on giving folks their credit. I study so many teachers. I'm a student of repetition. I literally study the same things over and over and over and over again. And I can't remember where I got this from, but it was powerful to me. And it's really simple. I only do, believe, or give attention to those things that move me forward towards my goals. I only do, believe, or give attention. The give attention part is where that's important, to those things that move me towards my goals. You can have a whole lot of goals.
Okay, so wait, say it again so that everybody that is listening, I want everybody to get it.
Yes.
Listen to it, write it down. So say it one more time.
I only do, believe, or give attention to those things which move me forward towards my goals. So some thoughts don't move me forward towards my goal. Some feelings don't move me forward towards my goals. And I know a lot of people say, well, we need to honor our feelings. You absolutely do need to honor your feelings. You can honor it, assess it, and figure out if it's something that is needed.
Because I am a student as well, right? Because I think that, as you mentioned, that's those studies of self, right?
Yes.
For me, I've done my human design. I've done my astrology. I've even done Vedic astrology. I've always been into astrology, right? It helps me and it's just like this unraveling for me to understand more about myself. And I know, and there's a lot of mixed emotions out around just these studies of self, right? How do we begin to understand or get those points that connect to our intuition from those studies?
So you would want to take a deeper dive into the studies themselves. Particularly, let's use astrology. In astrology, you want to understand the planets. You want to understand the zodiacs. You want to understand what facets of yourself belong to that, what areas of our life belong to what planetary system or planet, or what facets of ourself belong to what house, right, in astrology. When we're looking at Mercury, the planet Mercury is the planet of communication. So if you're trying to figure out your best avenue to speak with spirit or understand yourself, look at how your Mercury is aligned. What house is your Mercury in, right? For me, Mercury is in the fourth house. Fourth house is Cancer. I bring this up because Cancer rules the mother, but Cancer also rules ancestry, which lets me know that Cancer is a very prominent aspect of my chart, being in my fourth house. Fourth house is Cancer, in Mercury. So it's letting me know that I have an ability to communicate because of Mercury with the ancestors because of Cancer. So I'm looking right there. It's clearly defined. Also, Cancer is a water sign. So what do? I allow myself to submerge in water so I can hear clearer.
Maybe that's why we vibe, because mine is in Cancer too.
Your Mercury?
Yeah.
Is it?
It is.
Well, now, I apologize. My Mercury is in Scorpio.
Oh, mine is
which
in
is
Cancer.
also another water sign, which has to do with death, which has to do with the underworld, which has to do with the occult. Mm-hmm. So my Mercury is in Scorpio. Mm-hmm. In the 4th house. So that's just pure water for me. Right? I know that water is a conduit.
Yes.
But I also know that through Mercury, I communicate with the ancestor world as well.
Yeah.
Then we could look at human design. In human design, you can look at your authority. Right?
Yeah.
And everyone's authority is different. In human design, authority is our decision-making process. If I'm not mistaken, your authority is either emotional authority or solar plexus authority, which is one thing, or it's going to be sacral authority. Sacral authority in human design is a gut feeling.
Mine is probably my solar plexus.
Solar plexus authority in human design means you have to wait for a day to get a clarifying answer.
Yeah, I gotta leave it alone.
So for me,
I need to.
Unless you need to. For me, I have what's called splenic authority.
Oh.
Splenic authority speaks to me in the moment.
Oh.
So knowing that I get a message in the moment, I need to listen, I need to grab because it won't repeat. Helps me to know they said turn left. I don't need to second chance it. Turn left. So knowing how your authority works in human design can help you. Knowing your Mercury placements can help you when it comes to understanding your intuition as far as astrology. So looking at those different aspects of yourself, those two simple things could give you a little bit of a gateway to your intuition.
That's beautiful. I think that that's so powerful because I think that sometimes we don't know where to get started.
Yeah.
Right? And we don't know. We have so many resources available, right here and tangible to us. But then I think that it's important for different individuals while you are on this journey and investigating to tap in with teachers like yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think that for me, it's been especially helpful to even have the resources to say, hey, help me understand this a little bit more. Help me dig into this a little bit more. And ensuring that we're finding teachers that are truly authentic and resonate with us.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of people out here that are sharing information that I have found don't always have, I don't want to say the best intentions. I think that they're growing as well. They're growing in their path. They're growing in there. And so we don't want to deify any of these individuals, right? I think that it's important to know that you have teachers, that you have professors, that you have these individuals to be resources to you, but that does not mean that you are not accountable to the work, right? That you are not accountable.
So right now with social media, we're in a stage of microwave society, microwave learning, fast food learning. Everybody wants to know something. They want to understand it. They want to apply it, and then they want to teach it. And in the ancient world or in indigenous practices, that is not how things are done. I think right now we're at a space where people need to take a step back and find presence and find patience and depth. We have so many self-help gurus. I will never claim to be anybody's self-help guru. That is not a thing that I will do. Actually, my Instagram handle is very, very purposely done. I'm just Kadidra. I'm just me. I'm just me figuring it all out. I do know that I have had an intense level of study. I realize that I have another level of intense study that I have to go through. In the Japanese culture, they have this word, and it's called Shoshin. And Shoshin means the beginner's mind. So any teacher that you seek out should be in a space of Shoshin within themselves, that they are comfortable returning back to the beginning. I grew up doing African dance. I haven't danced in a while. If I go to an African dance class, I step in as a beginner. If I go to anyone's class, whether it's a study that I have studied or not, I go in as a beginner. I keep myself open as a beginner. The same books I read at 22 are the same books that I read now. I'm a person of repetition, so that's how I've reprogrammed myself. That's how I've been able to understand myself. That's how I've been able to decode and dissect any trauma or any programming, is because I'm willing to go deeper than I feel most are. I do welcome folks to go deep as I go with it, but it does take a bit of, I guess you could say, mania to have that stamina with going deep into yourself. You have to be okay with mistakes. You have to be okay being embarrassed. You have to be okay with your awkwardness. I'm a very awkward, offbeat person. I just embraced it within the last couple of years. But that awkwardness, that offbeatness, that is who I am authentically in my spirit and at my core. And it keeps me in Shoshin. It keeps me with the beginner's mind, even the beginner's mind of my inner child. Right? Everybody's in a hurry. We are. You know, and I even heard someone say, oh, mastery is easy. And I said, they won't get there. Because the fact that you think it's easy is completely asinine to a true master. They would never say anything like that. I do study mastery. I realize I probably got 3 more lifetimes to go before I get there.
That's what's wild to me. People are like, I'm doing all of my self-mastery. And I'm like, in a month? In 2 months? Like you think you can get your self-mastery in this one 3-day session? I don't think so.
The person who has mastered themselves doesn't have to speak about mastery. That's why I know I'm nowhere there.
Oh, that's true.
The person who has mastered self is not in anywhere in what we consider Babylon. Right? Listen, they have no need to prove. They have no need to show. They have no need to talk. They understand the experience of just being present and just being, which is what complete mastery of self is.
I was gonna say that
what complete detachment is.
Yeah, you can feel that in their presence as well. I sat with a lama, and he was amazing, and he answered my questions, and his presence, like it was profound for me, right? He was just so present, and he would never need to say, I've done these studies and I've done these things, and because his presence, it gave you everything, and you were just like, I know I'm sitting with a holy man right now.
Listen, we are right now, people are collecting modalities. I am this, I do this, I do this, I do this. My goal is, for me, just depth in self. You know, so sometimes I may not mention I'm a Reiki practitioner, or I do readings, or I do this, right? Because when it comes to the grand scheme, the macro, those are all micro in my journey of self. It really all turns back inward to myself, where it's just presence. And how do we get to a place of presence?
I love that. I love that. I love that for me. I love that for y'all too. I love that for the audience. They get this. For everybody that's getting this, right? Because it's so important. It's been so foundational on this journey for me, right? Because I think that I wasn't showing up in self. I wasn't doing right now. These conversations are all part of my self-discovery, right? And the inner, and the people that I want to speak with and learn from. And I attended when you talk about depth, I attended Khadija's retreat, and when she says depth, you have to be able to hold your breath, because she did an exercise. She was like, I want you to dig down deep. And I had to hold my breath, and I was like, I'm finna pass out.
I knew you would.
But I didn't, and I made it, and I'm here.
And what comes up from that?
Listen.
Because, the science of holding your breath takes you away from everything. You can't think. You can't feel. You can't respond. You're just in a place of pure presence. And that's why I did that. Because when you go into that place where you're so focused, if you're inhaling, you're focusing on inhaling. If you're exhaling, you're focusing on exhaling. But once you get to that in-between spot, you're just there. And where is there? We don't go there a lot. We're just there. And what does it feel like to sit there? Your body disappears. You can't think about what's happening tomorrow, what's happening around you. You're just there, which is pure presence. And that's why I did that. Because that's something, as you said, you could do on your own. Just take a deep breath, hold it.
Yeah.
And when you hold that breath, nothing else matters in the world. And you teach yourself
practice
presence.
First, though.
Practice.
Because when you come to the retreat, you might need to be ready. But it was, I mean, it was so beautiful. And
Thank you.
I mean, what I got out of it, I mean, we here, right?
Yeah.
A part of me being here right now was what I got out of that retreat, right? And what I have got out of our conversations. And I said I would and wouldn't, I've been thinking about how I, if I would and wouldn't touch on it, but the Reiki work that you did on me, and I'm forever gonna be grateful, right? I had some really large fibroids that I was suffering with, and I think that we look at the medical side of things, so heavily, but I was like, I feel like this is energetic. I need to go see about this. And what was interesting is that, and I'm not going to say that this is going to work for everybody, right? And this is not medical advice, and this is none of those things. This is just me recounting my own experience, right? And when I had a very, very large fibroid, probably the size of a small grapefruit. And when I went before session, it was live, right? And then after session, and after some crying and some writing, but after session, when I had an MRI done, that same fibroid had shrunk, but it didn't have any more livability. It wasn't alive anymore. Dead. Yeah, it was dead. So what happens on those scans is that it would light up. And she was like, you see this? This isn't lighting up. It was just dark.
Wow.
It was just there, but it was dark. I said, come on, spirit.
I commend you.
Thank you.
I commend you because you said there was writing, there was crying, there were all these things that happened after the session. I didn't do anything but guide you toward your knowingness of yourself.
Thank you.
I'm the conduit. Spirit tells me what you need so that you can empower yourself. I don't heal anyone but myself.
Oh, that's so
I just
good.
guide you so you understand your abilities to heal yourself better.
That's beautiful. I love that. And continuing it, right? It's been a continual evolution for me, right? And this, and me building up more. A part of it, the word is resilience. Mm-hmm. And then there's another word of resonance, right?
I have to point this out because I wouldn't be who I am if I didn't. You said something. You said you've been better processing your feelings, understanding your feelings, letting go things that you didn't need to hold on to when it came to your feelings. And I'm purposely emphasizing feelings because when you're talking about a fibroid, it sits in your feeling energy. And so right here in our womb space, that's where our feelings are cultivated. That age is 7 to 14 when we're starting to understand our feelings. And if that isn't honored during that time, we can become very confused when it comes to how we feel, what we feel, what is making us feel this. So the elimination of that fibroid was about you honoring your feelings, processing your own feelings, overcoming them, right? And that's why it won't have room to grow because you now understand your own feelings.
Yes.
So now that energy doesn't have anywhere to materialize in your body because you keep it fluid. You keep it flowing.
Water.
We
are water.
You keep it flowing.
We keep it moving.
So it doesn't have the environment to thrive in.
No, not at all. And I think that I mean, how did it'll probably be another conversation because I feel like we need to have another.
I think we do.
I feel like we need to have another conversation.
There's a lot of stuff I wanted to share with you. I didn't get to, but go ahead.
There's so much. So y'all, it's gonna be a part 2. We're gonna have another session where we're gonna
make the drive all the way to this side.
We're gonna have to do it.
That's right. I did a little drive. Now we gotta go further.
A little like
But that's how we have to push
like another
yourself
15 minutes. A little 15 minutes.
But go ahead. What are you gonna say?
I want you to share how people can know you, how they can learn from you, how they can work with you, all the things.
I will say that there is a bit of elusiveness to me because of Shoshin, because I'm always going back to the beginner's mind, because I do find myself in cycles of study, of rest, of give, study, rest, give, right? So I'm trying. Yoda says we don't try, we do. I am posting more on social media so that my voice can be heard a little bit more. I think I was discouraged from social media because it's so convoluted right now. So that was a little discouraging for me, but I am starting to speak more.
Good.
You can find me on Instagram, Just Kadidra, JustKadidra. My website is justkadidra.com. So make it kind of easy for you. I do have a program called S.H.A.R.E Alignment. It is spiritual healing and rejuvenated energy alignment. And it's a one-on-one program in human design. I am a projector, if you know anything about human design. So I work best one-on-one in guiding others. So S.H.A.R.E, you can do 6, 9, or 12 months. It's just me and you. I always tell my clients we're going to become best friends. I haven't figured out how not to become their best friend after because we stay in a relationship. So once someone goes through S.H.A.R.E, we do keep in touch and we develop a relationship. So that's why I am a little bit elusive, because if I give to you, I give with my whole heart.
Yes.
I don't have any pre-recorded audios or videos for my clients to watch. Everything is bespoke to a particular client. So you can find out anything that I do on justkadidra.com. I have a annual spring revival that takes place the spring equinox weekend of every year. This coming up year will be the 5th or 4th revival that we'll be having for S.H.A.R.E. I do divinations, and particularly with S.H.A.R.E, I divine to make sure that I am allowed from spirit to work with people before I move forward with working with people.
That's beautiful.
So, Instagram is probably the best way, or my website, Just Kadidra. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not a TikToker.
Be careful. I've been trying.
Listen, TikTok and ChatGPT will not get me. I've never used either.
Yeah, see, TikTok.
I gotta.
I like it. I like it for certain things. I think you just have to really have some willpower. And then you got to know what spaces are for you and what spaces aren't, because it is robust. It is a lot.
So remember how we were saying you got to go back and study yourself. I know if I get on TikTok, I'm going to be on there. So I'm not going to get on
Don't
there.
do it, because it'll suck you in.
No, there's a thing, again, many teachers, Muji, you're only tempted if you're temptable.
You're only tempted if you're temptable. Put that on a shirt.
You're only tempted if you're temptable. Listen, it will be temptable for me to go on TikTok if it's an app on my phone, but that is a program I don't need, so I won't put it.
Listen, I have it and I use it, and I really love it for all the things that I align with it for, and then the other times I'm just like, get off of it, let it go, don't do it, because I don't need nothing out of the TikTok shop. I don't need nothing out of the TikTok shop.
I don't even need to know that they have shops.
I know,
and I know we said we're gonna do a part 2, and I feel part 2 could just be on the relationship of Chat GPT. And how it is no place to be if you are trying to tap into your intuition.
Oh, I know.
ChatGPT is going to muddy the waters of intuition.
It will. It will. Stay authentic, y'all. That's the real AI.
Yeah.
Is
Ancestral intelligence.
Ancestral intelligence.
That's all we need.
The real AI. And we
Ancestral
gotta tap back into that, right? I think that when we are putting our feet on the ground, when we are eating live fruit, go to the farmer's market.
Grow your food.
Listen, we're not there. I'm getting there. But if you aren't there yet, because I'm getting there.
Yeah.
Because Kadidra does grow her food. And it is amazing. It is so good and it tastes different. I'm not even gonna hold you. When you grow the food, when the food is grown, it is different.
Also,
go ahead.
Growing food helps you tap back in to your intuition. And I'm gonna mess up his name, but there is a ancient Japanese martial artist, right? He says, from one thing, know 10,000 things. From one thing, know 10,000 things. And that's going to teach you depth. I'd use that with gardening, because from gardening, there's so many things.
So many.
Yeah. If you just take all the plants that you can identify in itself. But from one thing, know 10,000 things.
That's so true. Because is my plants. Like, I have become a plant mom. And that was me reclaiming parts of my roots, right? And I started with Isis. I started with my plant behind us, and she was a little bitty plant. Oh, because I was like, I don't know if I can take care of a plant. Let me try it.
So in reclaiming the inner whisper right now, the place I am is finding my voice, finding my understanding in not my relationship with the earth, but in the ancestral relationship with the earth. So I think about my great-grandmother when I garden, and I think, what would she have done? Let me hear through her ears. Let me speak through her voice. Let me understand the land through her heart.
Oh, ooh!
So that's the voice that I am currently cultivating.
Love
is the
that.
voice of my ancestors and their relationship with the earth and the plants.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
So this is the area in which I am building the list of my 10,000 things.
Oh,
listen,
she's poetic, y'all. Yeah, she's poetic and beautiful. She's just so divine. I love it. I'm gonna be Kadidra when I grow up.
Oh, stop. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sis. This was so beautiful. This was such a beautiful conversation. Yes, I honor you so much for taking this time, being with me.